My brother-in-law, Kevin, dropped a bombshell at dinner, saying, "The truth is, we sold our house." My husband and I were left speechless, but the most shocked person in the room was my mother-in-law. She immediately demanded, "Why would you do that? And why didn't you come to get me?" Visibly upset, she began arguing with Kevin. He raised his hands in a calming gesture, trying to explain. "My name's Sandra, and I work from home alongside my husband, Robert. We loved the flexibility that came with working remotely, taking breaks whenever we needed. But when Robert's mom moved in, things changed. Financially, we were stable, but she just couldn't understand why we weren't leaving the house every day to work. Her constant questions wore me down. No matter how many times we explained that we were working from home, she thought we were just lounging around, not thinking about the future. She often told us she should have gone to live with Kevin instead." Kevin, Robert's brother, had married Carol, a wealthy woman, but deep down, we knew Kevin was too preoccupied with enjoying his wife's money to take care of his mom. Still, she clung to the hope that one day he would come and whisk her away to their mansion. In reality, it was never going to happen. Robert had already promised his mom she could stay with us. Kevin made it clear he wouldn't take her in, leaving us to juggle our remote work life with her constant presence. Despite being labeled unemployed by her because we worked from home, we tolerated it. Then, out of the blue, Kevin called one day. "I'll be coming over this weekend," he said, hanging up before we could ask for details. Robert and I were puzzled, wondering what it meant. My mother-in-law overheard and jumped to conclusions. "Kevin's coming to get me. Help me pack," she exclaimed, practically dragging Robert to her room. He tried reasoning with her, explaining that Kevin hadn't mentioned anything about taking her, but she wouldn't hear it. "He didn't say he was picking you up, Mom," Robert tried to reason. "He doesn't have to say it. I know he's coming for me," she insisted. It baffled us. Since moving in, she'd done no housework and relied on the money we gave her. So why was she so convinced Kevin would take her? Still, we went along with it, helping her pack as we waited for Kevin's arrival. When Kevin and Carol arrived that weekend, their behavior was oddly courteous. My mother-in-law greeted them with a slew of complaints about how poorly she thought we were treating her. "You two aren't mistreating Mom, right?" Kevin asked, giving us a scrutinizing look. "Of course not," Robert replied. "We give her money and let her live comfortably. Sandra takes care of all the housework." Kevin raised an eyebrow. "Mom says otherwise. Maybe you're not even aware of how you've been treating her," he added, fueling her complaints. Robert and I exchanged frustrated glances, but we decided to keep things civil and led everyone to the living room. As soon as we sat down, my mother-in-law ordered, "Don't just sit there, serve them." I raised an eyebrow. "I thought you were going to make the tea, Mom." "Make an old woman work? Kevin, look at how Sandra treats me," she exclaimed, dramatically wiping at non-existent tears. I was too taken aback to respond, so I begrudgingly made the tea. When I returned, Kevin and Carol had adopted a more serious tone. "We need to talk," Kevin started. "The truth is, we sold our house." The shock on Robert's face mirrored my own, but it was nothing compared to the disbelief in my mother-in-law's eyes. "Why would you do that? And what about picking me up?" she asked, her voice trembling. Kevin sighed, trying to calm her down. "We've fallen into debt and had no choice. We need a place to stay temporarily, just until we get back on our feet." "Debt? What debt?" my mother-in-law pressed. "I invested in a business. It didn't go as planned," Kevin confessed with a nervous chuckle. Robert and I could only sigh. "We just need a place to stay for a little while, please. There's nowhere else for us to go," Kevin added, almost pleading. Feeling conflicted, we reluctantly agreed to let them stay temporarily but made it clear they had to leave within a month. "Got it," Kevin said with a nervous laugh before heading off to prepare for the move. After they left, my mother-in-law sat in silence, her expression unreadable. We assumed she was still processing the news. The next day, Kevin and Carol's belongings arrived, filling up the house quickly. "Where are we going to put all this stuff? We might need to sell some or rent a storage unit," we discussed while unloading their boxes. Then, out of nowhere, my mother-in-law dropped a bombshell. "I've been thinking, wouldn't it be more secure for the future if Kevin stays here permanently? You two freeloaders could just leave," she said coldly. My husband and I froze, shocked by her bluntness. "I mean, if I really have to, I can tolerate Robert staying, but I don't need a wife who can't even do anything around here. Why don't you just get a divorce? Then Sandra's space could be used for all these packages, she suggested, her eyes gleaming as she glanced at my husband, waiting for his agreement. What on earth are you talking about? Robert stammered, clearly astonished by her audacity. Before we could fully process her words, Kevin and Carol arrived. My mother-in-law greeted them enthusiastically, but I was still reeling from what she had said. Despite the tension, Robert tried to keep things civil and asked Kevin to deal with the mountain of boxes cluttering the hallway. There's more than we expected, Robert noted. You might have to rent a storage unit or sell some of this stuff. Kevin's face darkened. Sell them? Are you crazy? These are important things. What if they get stolen from a storage unit, or damaged? Are you going to take responsibility for that? He snapped. Robert's patience was wearing thin. This is our house. You're staying here as a favor, so it's only fair you deal with some inconvenience. If you don't like it, find somewhere else to live, he said firmly. Just then, my mother-in-law intervened, raising her voice. What are you talking about? Didn't I just say if you two aren't happy with Kevin and Carol being here, you can leave? You're freeloaders. You contribute nothing to this household. Kevin's trying to start a business, while all you two do is sit around claiming to work remotely. You're a burden. My husband and I exchanged stunned glances, unable to believe what we were hearing. Kevin and Carol, however, exchanged smirks. Actually, that's a great idea, Mom, Kevin chimed in. We don't need the hassle of finding another place. Just sell the house to us. Right, Carol? He turned to his wife, who nodded eagerly. Exactly, Carol agreed. It makes perfect sense. We'll take over the house, and you two can just leave. Mom's already on our side, so it's the most practical solution. Robert was about to protest when my mother-in-law cut him off, her eyes gleaming with satisfaction. See, both Kevin and Carol agree. So, Robert, what are you going to do? If you're willing to divorce, you can stay here. Otherwise, Sandra should leave, she said, glaring at me with triumph in her eyes. I prepared to respond, but my husband beat me to it. Why are you saying Sandra has to leave? You just say whatever you want, he snapped, his face flushed with anger. Don't raise your voice like that. It's better without a burden around, isn't it? My mother-in-law shot back. Burden? You don't understand anything. This is Sandra's house, my husband fired back, his frustration evident. At his words, my mother-in-law, Kevin, and Carol all gasped, clearly stunned. My husband pressed on, intensifying the tension. Sandra bought this house for us to live in together. What? That can't be true. Isn't it the husband's job to buy the house? My mother-in-law stammered in disbelief. There's no such rule. Besides, Sandra's been covering all your expenses, your allowance, your living costs, since your pension barely stretches far enough. She took that unwillingly because she wanted you to have some financial freedom, Robert explained, his gaze hardening as he looked at his mother. Despite his explanation, my mother-in-law refused to back down. I don't believe any of this. Believe it or not, it's the truth. And even though Sandra's been managing everything so you'd be secure if you ever wanted to leave, you've been bossing her around and making it harder for her to work. You're the problem here. If you don't like Sandra, you can leave, Robert said firmly. We never wanted you to live with us in the first place. You begged us to let you stay, he added, turning his gaze to Kevin and Carol. And we don't mind if you're here temporarily, but you need to be respectful. Kevin and Carol exchanged nervous glances, clearly uncomfortable with Robert's outburst. Kevin awkwardly tried to lighten the mood. Oh, come on, bro, we were just kidding, but wow, you've done well for yourselves. Huh, maybe you could give me some business tips. Right, Carol? Carol nodded, forcing a smile, but my mother-in-law remained defiant. Don't get so high and mighty. You're just a bum, Robert. You should leave, too. Go see what it's like out in the real world, she barked, completely ignoring everything we'd said. Robert and I exchanged a weary look, both exhausted from the constant battle. I finally spoke up. If that's how you feel, we'll pack up and go. But don't come crying to us when you're stuck with the mortgage. If you insist on us leaving, fine. But maintaining this house on just a pension will be impossible. My mother-in-law's face turned beet red. Get out then. I don't need your help, she screamed. Wait, You don't mean that, right? Kevin protested, panic creeping into his voice.
Yeah,
We're safe with you two here. You don't have to leave, Carol added, trying to smooth things over. But my mother-in-law silenced them with a glare. Kevin, you're going to be a CEO, aren't you? Use my pension, start your company, and show everyone how successful you can be. I don't care what it takes, you'll prove them wrong, she declared with fierce determination. Realizing there was no reasoning with her, Robert and I knew it was time to leave for good. We packed our things, transferred the mortgage to Kevin's name, and walked away, cutting ties with them entirely. Some time passed, and though there was lingering frustration from the ordeal, life became peaceful without my mother-in-law's constant criticisms. We settled into our new apartment and resumed our remote work, grateful for the fresh start. Then, one day, my husband got an unexpected phone call. It was his mother, sobbing. Kevin took all my pension and disappeared. He's been gone for a week, and Carol and I are all alone in the house. We don't know what to do. Please help us, she cried. Robert managed to calm her down and asked for more details. I gave Kevin my entire pension to help with his business, but he gambled it all away. When I confronted him, he just vanished. She wailed in desperation, unable to continue through her sobs. My mother-in-law handed the phone to Carol. Please, could you call us back? We can't keep living like this. Ever since Kevin's startup failed, and he sold the house we were staying in, our parents have completely disowned us. My dad refuses to forgive us for selling that house, and neither of them will answer our calls, Carol pleaded, her voice trembling. My husband, clearly disgusted, muttered, I knew it, under his breath. That's really unfortunate, but don't drag us into this. We warned you when we left that we wouldn't help you. If Kevin's missing, report him to the police. It's none of our concern, he said coldly, before hanging up. I was a bit taken aback by his bluntness, but he simply shrugged and said, they got what was coming to them. I couldn't help but agree. After that, they began calling my husband's cell phone relentlessly. When he finally gave in and answered, Carol would be on the other end, crying about not knowing how to report Kevin as missing. We were both shocked that she didn't know how to handle something so basic, but my husband calmly advised her to contact the police. Even with that advice, Kevin remained missing for weeks, just as we started to believe he might never be found. We received shocking news. Kevin had been arrested for robbing a bank in another state. He'd done it in a desperate attempt to pay off his debts. Apparently, it wasn't even his first offense, and he was likely facing serious prison time. Now, Carol can't return to her parents' home and is still living with my mother-in-law in the house. Whether she plans to divorce Kevin or not is uncertain, but that seems to be the least of her worries. She's registered with a temp agency and is struggling to get through her first ever job, barely scraping by day to day. As for my mother-in-law, after Kevin took all of her pension, she's now saddled with the responsibility of repaying his debts. She's even started working part-time to chip away at what she owes. While my husband and I do feel some sympathy for them, we've made it clear that we have no intention of getting involved or offering help. We've cut off all communication. It seems they're finally facing the harsh realities my mother-in-law was so fond of preaching about. Despite everything that's happened since she first moved in with us, my husband and I are just relieved to have our peaceful life back.